When I was a little kid, I used to play with maple seeds and throw them up in the air and watch them fly down like little helicopters. Well, I was in a giant ash tree, which has very similar types of seeds. And every time I shook a branch, all these thousands of little helicopters were flying down. Kind of made me feel like a kid again. It was actually quite beautiful. Yeah, and speaking of beautiful, boy, the fall color on these Japanese maples is truly remarkable. Well, I'm going to get back to a job. I showed you a video a couple weeks ago where we were working on these giant ukes, and we had yet another one to come back to. And unfortunately, this tree has been topped repeatedly through its entire lifetime. So what we're dealing with are these long, straight shoots. Some of these shoots were 25 feet long and probably anywhere from 4 to 6 inches in diameter. But the end weight on these things is significant. They're full of the eucalyptus corns, the seed pods. They're small, they're still developing, but there's just an abundance of them. So we had some pretty tricky roping to do here because of the oak tree adjacent to this one. We were kind of limited in where we could drop these pieces, and there was hedges underneath. So he had me let it run for just a little bit to get past him, then give it a little tug so it would flip over, but then I'd have to stop it immediately so that the brushy end would flip over. And most of them worked out pretty good. You can see that was a lot of work. Jorge was in the tree today. I was doing all the roping and all the hauling and all the groundwork, which I think was probably they're both hard jobs, but this was very, very hard for me. Moving all this brush out was a challenge. So while we were there was a gardener that was working on this property that had this little tiny blower, and it was a gas blower. And I swear, the guy was working on this thing for 6 or 7 hours, just all day long with this little tiny insignificant blower. This gives you an idea of what we're doing to it. Basically, we're retopping these trees. Fortunately, on the neighbor's side, we did have some free fall area, but we had to make all these cuts so that they would clear the fence and clear the hedges underneath. There was a few obstacles, but we had a nice drop zone. Eucalyptus are a little bit difficult to work on because of the tight crotches. There are these long, straight crotches that grow very, very tight V's. So finding comfortable places to stand up here is often a real challenge. This is not the kind of work that we like to do. But when we're dealing with somebody else's past mistake, sometimes we don't have a whole lot of options. We can't let this grow to the sky again because they're growing off of all these old chopped, topped cuts that are eventually going to decay, and then all these pieces that get really long will start falling apart. So I would not like to be the one that did this initially, but unfortunately we get the job of keeping up on it. Oh, you're going to like this. Boy, did we get lucky. I cannot tell you how lucky we got on these cuts, this last cut here. The only obstacle we had to deal with was a boxwood hedge. And I thought it was far enough away.
Man, was that a lucky
Yep.
shot?
We got really, really lucky. That's a topic that I'd like to talk about. I think I'd like to do it in basically a podcast where I interview people talking about how much does luck play in the work that we do. I think it's quite a bit of it. There's a lot of skill, but every once in a while, you just get lucky. Jorge's really good at placing the rope. This last piece up here, he wants to get the rope through that high crotch. And you can see he put it through there with a pull pruner and he's pulling it down, pulled it up. And this last piece was leaning back a bit, so he couldn't get it to fall without a little bit of forward tug. I'm sorry, I had to put the camera down so you don't get to see this move here.
Ready when you are.
And that was pretty strenuous. He had to stop and take a break up there for a little bit.
Okay, no worries.
Like I said, I do not like to top trees, but I understand when we're dealing with somebody else's mistake in the past. That sometimes safety means you've got to follow the protocol of what's been done and basically repeat the mistake so that you can buy yourself some time. We've got this brush cart that we built years and years ago. We've actually got 2 of them that mount very nicely on the chipper. And if we throw a couple of 2x4s, or in this case, chunks of wood, we're able to haul out mountains and mountains and mountains of brush. There's that boxwood hedge I was talking about. If we had damaged that boxwood hedge, oh my gosh, you can't replace something like that. What do you do? Well, you can see how much cleanup we had on this job. Yet another day done.